the Public Art Advisory Committee, Monday, October 14th at 5:15 PM. This is a hybrid meeting. People may join via Zoom or meet us here at 50 Park Place, Brisbane, in the large conference room at Brisbane City Hall.
And we have a roll call.
Chair Glassman.
Here.
Vice Chair Greenlee.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Cunningham.
Here.
Councilmember Davis.
Here.
Park and Recreation Commissioner Sewell is not here yet. Salmon is absent, and Committee Member Kelstead.
Are there any changes to the minutes or any, or the agenda? Or can we proceed forward with the approval of the agenda? Motion to approve, second.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay, are there any changes for the minutes from August 26th? Or can we?
October 8th.
October 8th? I guess that's a change.
It doesn't say that. October 8th.
Sorry, I was reading the wrong thing.
Oh, yeah. This is
Sorry.
the previous.
Okay, approval of the minutes from October 8th.
Motion approved.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye. So now we will move on to our discussion with McGrath Arts.
So they haven't joined yet, because we wanted to just make sure we had just a few minutes beforehand. Is there anything that you guys wanted to talk about or explore their website or
Do you want me to print out a detail of the type 1 and type 2 handrail or? Yeah. Or do we think we're?
I think that would be,
couldn't hurt?
no, couldn't hurt, yeah. Yeah, so we understand it.
Yeah.
Done. 36-foot spiders on what, on route?
Neil is joining us. Hello, Camille. Looks like we are here already. Would we just want to go ahead and invite them in while, Karen Kinzer, or do you want to talk a little about anything?
I mean, so our goal with talking to them tonight are basically to talk about the integration with Public Works. Correct, and kind of get more firmly establish what exactly the work that we're having them do.
Yes.
I would say that lighting specifically, trying to figure out, are we gonna do just one in the front and one on each end? And what kind of smaller lighting throughout could look like, or what it might look like. I mean, I'm curious if we had the same pieces throughout. I think that's really impactful. But yeah, I would just be interested. I also wonder, I just thought about this now, like how do these types of works hold up to spider webs?
Oh, how do you?
Oh.
Cause I was thinking like,
How do we maintain them?
like,
I don't
'cause
think
these are
anything is
inside-
in spiderweb.
Yeah,
Any ramp we put will have spiderweb,
Yeah.
any of
cause there's so much little, like, I could, yeah,
Well,
Someone's gonna have to run up there with a
And
brush.
pull-
well, is this considered a park and rec area?
public works.
Public works.
Public
area.
work area, okay.
cause it's.
Cause I mean. I don't know, I'm thinking that, we could offer brushes to people who wanna go up there and brush them off, maybe a public service the kids could do, I mean.
Well, and I didn't print out our like implementation guidelines, but I know that there's detail in there about allocating funds for maintenance of public art over time, so maybe dedicating some funds to support cleaning and maintaining the art.
I'd like to know how color could be incorporated, like what their vision is for that. I know they kind of mentioned it a little bit, but I'd like to like have more of a formal conversation. And like, is this the type of, is this like an example or is it like identical to kind of
No.
like?
Well, and
Yeah,
we don't have to
especially the
flush out the
leaves
design
green.
tonight,
Right.
that's not
Right.
happening.
See, here's the sketches, and then they were
Yeah, that's
talking
why
about
I kind of wanted to just like kind of
galvanizing and bronze silica green.
do our outline or do that kind of like
Oxy
broad
paint,
strokes
so-
of what it is we're discussing tonight. So
Yes,
it's like design, no.
Madison and.
So, yeah, we're not deciding on the design tonight, that's
No.
gonna happen later, the.
Yeah, they're
intent
gonna
is
have
really
it tighter.
refine their scope of work so that we can get a revised budget from them, then that can go to city council for approval, and the design pieces and.
But I think that
conversations.
impacts, I think
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I think, you know, if we're talking about 6 of something of this nature
Mhm.
versus 2 of something of this nature and
Yeah.
4 of something of a, you know, like I think we have to have an idea of what that could possibly look like. Even if they're just describing other works that they've done, so we know how much money we wanna throw at it, right?
Neil? Unmute.
Here we go, type 2, here's a type 2 handrail.
Okay.
Offer can work.
Can you unmute her?
Ask
I
her,
don't think
yeah.
so.
No, she has to do it.
But
herself.
that might help her. If she can just hit a button, maybe.
There I am. Can you hear me?
Hey.
Thank you. Great. Oh, great. I would just like to I think it would be interesting to find out, I'm hoping that since they have been invited to come to this meeting, that they've done a little bit of research and investigation and to first hear about what their thoughts were, because we're talking about the lighting people.
Yeah.
And to,
And
to-
railings.
I'm sorry, what?
And railing.
And railing.
And railing. I would like to hear what their thoughts were, because I'm hoping
Yeah.
that they did some investigation before we get into the weeds on our end, to be able to hear, because I think it's true. What about spiders? They may have thought about all those things, but I think it would be really fun to hear, first of all, what their investigation of where they are now with what's happening.
Mhm.
I would kind of like to know from Public Works, like, I know right now it's kind of a dusty, dirty, just gravelly trail. And is it going to be, less dirt? Are they gonna add gravel to where it's not, you know, as they build the thing, or is that just kind of no? No,
There isn't any plan to do much else than the stairs.
just
at
the
this
stairs
point,
and the
yeah.
rails.
I think the rest is up to
It's
us.
pretty steep, yeah.
Yeah, it is. Well, up to
Yeah.
us as far as, isn't it private property? I mean, we can't exactly go.
What do you
No,
mean
it's
for
city
gravel?
property.
City property.
12 feet.
From
12 feet?
Some
Okay.
of the fences are,
in,
yeah,
In.
so it's probably 10 that is available
But it's
without getting people
still-
to move their.
And the
fence.
step themselves.
Because if
will
you,
be-
because if you
Or-
go, if you go further down the hill to the down, across the street and down, the neighbors there have like landscaped a little bit. They've
Oh.
made plants, they put plants there and kind of cleaned that up a little bit. And then some areas are paved, you know, just more paved on the sides, so it's just less dirty. I just wonder if this is just, you know, if you don't hold back all that dirt from the sides.
They won't get on those steps. The steps are up a little
They're
bit.
gonna be up?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we can probably think of that once this thing is in
It's
place.
on,
Like, what do
yeah.
we need here?
Yeah,
And what,
you know,
it's pretty dark.
yeah.
What will grow? Well, the coleuses will grow and those kind of things will grow without much water and stuff, but I mean, that's way.
Or maybe it's not grown, maybe it's
Yeah.
gravel, maybe it's cement. I mean, you know, whatever it is, just not be so dusty and muddy, and I know the stairs won't be, but just the surrounding area, that was the
Yeah.
problem with it. The thing below was that whenever it rained or or it just was neglected for so long, there were just weeds and weeds and weeds
Yeah.
that had to be cut down.
Yeah, and then we just come through and.
And you
whack
just come
it.
and weed whack them, which is okay, but it just doesn't ever, it doesn't look kept.
Oh, Camille.
You
has
know.
her hand up.
Right.
Anyways, Camille.
I'm not quite sure. I may have, because I missed a last meeting. I apologize for some of my questions, but I think what we're talking to them about is their rail and line and their lighting design. I'm not sure we're talking about their landscaping. I
No.
somehow I think.
internal.
Yes, but I think if we can be clear, because the landscaping, once that done, may be turning back towards the city and what the
Yes.
city will do to accommodate whether it's gravel or not dusty. I'm just,
Yeah, I know. I was just asking her
Yeah,
that question.
it's just
because
not included in the construction of the stairs, but
gotcha.
it doesn't mean it couldn't.
It
happen
couldn't,
after.
something couldn't happen. Okay, yeah, it has nothing to do with the art, really. It was just my question about
oh, okay.
what's surrounding the art, you know?
Another art project.
And can I just say something ahead of time?
Let's just get this one done
you guys-
first.
Yeah.
Can you hear
Camille.
me?
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
just wanted you to know if there could be a sign, I'm in someone's home and there's a lot of conversations going on. So you're more than welcome to mute me on your end if it gets. You know what I'm saying? Just so you know, I'm in somewhere between the kitchen, the dining room and the living room. So in an alcove.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and invite them in.
Yeah.
You ready? Great.
We're good.
Is the front door still open?
Do you think,
I'm gonna check.
do you think, Tom is here?
Yeah, maybe. We would stay for 1 o'clock and we could start in the line. Guy.
Oh, hello, welcome.
Hello,
Hello.
sorry, my camera seems to be blurry.
It's all good. Right.
We can see you.
Okay,
All right.
hi.
That one right there.
There you go. Awesome. Well,
You
thank
put a
you
light
for
behind
joining us tonight. I'm Noreen, Park and Rec Director, and do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
I'm Diane Glasman. I'm the chairperson of the committee.
Oh, I'm Danielle Gelsted.
And I'm part of this committee.
I'm Lisa Greenlee. I'm Park and Rec Commissioner and co-chair.
Madison Davis, Brisbane City Council.
Karen Cunningham, Brisbane City Council.
Camille Salmon calling, oh, I'm sorry, Camille Salmon calling in from Swampland.
And I'm a city staff person helping with the committee.
And your name is?
And, oh, Angel.
Karen Kinzer, city staff, public works department, who's part of the stairway construction project.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, good to meet you all.
I'm Madeline.
And I'm Scott McGrath.
Thank you both. We're very excited to be able to have this conversation tonight. We have a handful of questions for you, as I mentioned on our phone call last week. But definitely the intent is to kind of refine the scope of your portion of the project and make sure that it can be easily integrated with the construction side of the project and before we go to city council for the award of contract. So I think, we're hoping to have some conversation around railings and lighting tonight. I don't know if you have a preference on where to start, but at this point, I'll just kind of open up the conversation.
And you should be able to share screen if you need to share anything online.
Okay, I don't think I have anything to share online today, so but we'll just, I guess, we could start with the lighting. Probably is a good idea because I think that when I spoke to you, Noreen, you'd mentioned lights at the entrance of both entrances, the north and south entrance. So so I think what we spoke about was some kind of lighting that had a similar feel to one of the kind of tree lights that we had made that had some naturalistic forms kind of similar to this idea here.
Yes.
With the what is that, the night sky
Yeah, dark light requirements.
requirements.
So
so we started thinking about what kind of native plants would lend themselves well to that, not just
Oh,
using
that's-
some trumpet flower, whatever. So we kind of started thinking about what we could do with that, and kind of thought about maybe some morning glory type of plant.
Amazing.
Also thinking about instead of a tree form, maybe we might want to bring in some kind of architecture, like an arch or partial arch
Oh,
way
that'd be cool.
that
Yeah.
it could be growing over, at least on the, maybe on the
Yeah.
the south. Sorry, on the
Oh, what
north entrance, the lower one.
Yeah,
Lower.
Possibly,
Alvarado.
it was a little bit narrower because of the steps on the right side.
Mhm.
That seems
Those are-
like,
Those are coming
Neil?
out.
Are you, just so, because it's hard for me, I'm somewhere else. Are
Yeah.
you talking about lighting for entrances to the things as opposed to lighting coming down the stairs?
yes, kind of starting there, because I think that if we could kind of flesh out some ideas, then we can think about how we could incorporate that into the handrail a little bit.
Oh, okay, great, thank you. Coming
Yeah.
down the stairs, and we're all, I mean, what I guess I'm asking is that not only lighting, this is so beautiful, by the way, this tree with the lighting, thank you.
Oh,
How
thanks.
tall is that? How tall is that?
This one's a short one, but this is
But
only
how,
about
how tall do you think that is? Just,
like 2 feet.
okay, great. And so you're also thinking of being able to continue lighting down the stairs to the exit off the stairs. It's
Yeah,
not just the
Camille,
beginning and the
Camille,
end, yes.
Time out, time out,
Yes.
time out. Okay, let's just deal with the entrance, the lower entrance and the upper entrance before we start going into anything else on the lighting. Cause we wanna get those things laid out first,
Okay,
and then we'll go into the other aspects of the proposal, just so we stay on track.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these would be, I didn't see them specifically on the plan called out for any lighting, on the plan itself. I see that there are 6 spots for the bollard lightings, which we'll talk about later. But, but we're thinking that it would be nice to have that lighting there, like you'd mentioned, to kind of mark the place and have something nice at night there. We like that idea.
Yeah, when we first started talking about this, in the last few days, we thought of like a single light. One of the lights we had sent you a picture of had kind of a giant trumpet flower that
Yeah.
had some branchy things on it. And one of the things with dark light requirements is, if you can put the lighting in different spots and kind of spread it out a little bit, it's better because it kind of lights the whole area without having to make that single light super bright. So we kind
Say
of
that
like,
one more, say that one more time, sorry.
Bring the lights among the sculpture to light the whole piece instead of having just one
One.
single.
Yeah, yeah. Like this, right? This are those a bunch
Behind
of
you?
different lights within?
this one has like 10 little lights on it. And although this is for inside a house,
Right.
we would do something more like very downward facing, but maybe, maybe at the entrance, there would be one low down kind of by your feet, kind of. So the sculpture would be kind of like, the light would be spread out with several different lights and.
Oh, love it.
Like
Yeah.
that.
Is there like a, God, words are-
Wattage,
Words-
like.
yes, thank you,
requirement.
words are failing me today. this evening.
Lumens.
But yeah,
Requirement?
is there a requirement for
Yeah.
like, how much, how much illumination has to come out of the light fixture?
Or limits.
Yeah, there's an upper limit, but
Okay,
probably what they're doing is going to be okay. I'll have to look up the
Okay.
numbers. I was looking at the street lighting and there actually isn't something right there, so this would be
Really
good.
nice. though.
Yeah.
cause I was just wondering if we're talking about more than, like instead of one central light fixture, what you guys were talking about was doing more light fixtures within the sculptural element
Scattered on the-
itself. That if we would
Right.
still end up with a sufficient amount of light.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that way it gives it a little bit more of a festive look too.
Yes, yeah.
Not
I guess
just
it
one
depends on the
light.
bulbs themselves.
Yeah.
What the bulbs are.
And so those would be some low voltage LEDs. Something like that. That would be,
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that dark light requirement, they like the color to be very low, so we'd use 2700K lighting, so it's warm light and not white light. I mean, we like to use that anyway because it's prettier.
Sure.
They like the direction to be down, and they don't like, and I feel like there is a little room for adjustment because we would use something that we could change the bulb wattage if we felt like we needed to go one direction or another. It's not like we'd be using a standard fixture and stuck with a certain like lighting. So if we design this thing to have a certain look and have a certain amount of lumens, if we needed to increase it or decrease it, we could by changing the bulb out. So
Sounds
that was
perfect.
sort of a, I mean, I feel like some of the dark light requirements are fairly easy for us to kind of
Yeah.
address.
Shielded and
Shielded and,
downward
and-
facing.
I mean, as far as the look of it, Madeline was kind of getting into this idea of, you know, at first, today we were kind of hinting at this idea of maybe like a tree growing up and kind of hanging over the railing, and you know, and as we started talking about, we sort of revised our idea. Maybe the entrances could have like almost like a small, not really like a trellis, but like an architectural arch that's sort of like
I love that.
vine-
like what, kind of like what you have here, this armature. I don't know if you can see that.
Show it here.
Oh, yeah.
sorry, yeah, something
yeah.
similar to that.
Yeah,
Give it
I think
some
that's great.
architecture.
Yeah, give it something to, yeah.
not just tree, but there's
Yeah.
there's an architectural element to it. So
Yes,
Yeah, I
and
like
then-
that.
Yeah, we like that concept. And then also what is another possibility is, I know you have, well, I noticed on Google Earth, it says something about artist walkway near there. And
Yeah.
we weren't really sure what it was, but maybe some kind of a wayfinding sign or something like that could be added into it to say
That's
to San
what that
Benito or
alley
to
is.
Alvarado Street. Just some ideas that we thought of, 'cause we're, you know,
Signage.
yeah, we've done
Yes.
signage. You know, it's not going to be a vinyl printed sign. It's going to be our own
Is it-
creation.
it'd be metal.
Does the
Is
walkway
there
have a name?
something there actually for people to go look at if we're gonna be doing
No.
signage? Okay, so
No, what's weird is it's called that on a map, but it has absolutely no art.
Is that this walkway?
Yes, it's the
Oh,
next
well,
one.
good thing we decided to put art there.
Yeah, exactly. I don't
That's
know,
crazy.
maybe somebody once lived there that was an artist and that got the name, but it's
Well,
really
maybe
just
we
an
could put a
alley.
little sign.
Yeah, we
And
And
maybe
I
they
think
can
either
incorporate
the
that in either it could be incorporated into the
So we
stair.
like the idea of
Or-
the signage.
Yeah, yeah, we
Signage
yeah,
would be
because now we have a name for it.
Okay,
Go ahead.
And it's two artists. You know, it'll be two artists
Right.
in the walkway.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, so it
So,
will
I
be-
mean, you know, we like signage and we can kind of draw up some ideas using that kind of bracket kind of idea. And let's see, I did do a little sketch. I don't know if it would come through, but just, nope, it doesn't really, but I mean, it says like to San Benito Street or something like that, like it has a post with the, you know, the handrail.
Very
Yeah, yeah,
good.
very nice.
That's kind of why we
Very-
wanted to start with that concept so that if we did want to incorporate that architecture into the handrail, we could blend it with whatever plant form we were using, whether it's we thought maybe an oak, but I think that would be better further up on the steps. But so maybe kind of like the morning glory, because we made some that are just really nice shape. They have that kind of trumpet shape that would
Yeah, it kind of lends itself to like a downward light and doesn't look.
Yeah, yeah,
know.
yeah.
Sounds like a good word.
Yeah, and yeah, we spent
Yeah.
some time looking at the different
Yeah, yeah.
plans for the San Bruno Mountain Watch and some other sites that you have, your own sites that we could kind of identify the plants that are important to your community.
Great.
And the ones that are large enough that we could feature as lighting somehow.
Yeah.
So,
I just wanna note the stairs next to 401, the greenhouse, 401 Alvarado at the bottom.
Yeah.
Those are gonna go away. Those
oh, no steps
Okay.
there.
are
Okay.
gonna access their front door via the new steps.
Oh, the
Alright.
ones that are going off to the right here is, that was,
Yeah.
that is a question we have. I don't know if should we talk about that now since it came up?
Oh, you mean at the entrance of the stair?
Alvarado.
So then
Yeah.
there needs to be an
Yeah.
opening for them to
Yeah,
get
he
to
was-
their front door then.
those-
and
This
railing.
They'll have landings, yeah.
Those
Yeah.
steps are gone, but then you have steps that are further up, going to the
Mhm.
right. Is that what you're putting in instead?
Accessing someone's backyard?
Yeah, the steps are going up and then the house is right there. So there'll be a landing going off to the right, going into their front door.
And if you're seeing steps a little ways up, our stairs may have to drop down 2 steps to get to their front door. So those would stay. The ones further up would stay.
Okay.
Am I seeing that?
Did we have any, do we have any concerns for those neighbors about lighting and their front porch or their front door? No.
I would think that if we continue to maintain the low light wattage, it's not an issue. If anything, it might be really nice to have that.
Yeah,
I mean, I
They're
totally-
gonna point down.
And they
to
don't
the
have to pay for the electricity.
Yeah, I
Whatever.
heard-
I just think it'd be really sweet.
Oh, I think it'll be beautiful. I just want to be sensitive to the neighbors if they had any concerns about, light shining in their windows or something like that.
I think that's the purpose of the dark skies ordinance, is to
Okay.
get away from that kind of lighting
Okay.
and ensure that any new lighting is really sensitive to
Yeah.
Downward facing, low, yeah.
Wattage. Okay, yeah,
And
that's
then-
fine.
We also had some questions about, if there's ways to incorporate more color into the design. And if that would, and I guess we're not talking about like design issues tonight, but if this were something that if we incorporated color, if there was a way to do that, if that would affect the budget. Is the reason
I
why.
missed that part. I'm sorry. What do you mean by color?
Well, if there's ways to bring more color into the pieces, because, because they're predominantly brown and green.
No, they
But
had,
if we
No,
have the tile on the stairs that are gonna be incredibly colorful, do we really want those pieces to be very colorful as well?
I agree with Danielle.
Very colorful. I think
They're
just
not-
means like a
it's like-
slight green.
Okay, you want me to take over?
Yeah.
Okay.
This
This-
is actually Madison.
This came from me last meeting, but the reason why I thought that adding some color into the railings is important is because, remember, you're only experiencing. You're only experiencing because there's also gonna be mosaics on the stairs. You're only experiencing the mosaic in one direction. So from the other direction, and also, regardless, it's very brown and there's a lot of fences. So you have the fence as the background and then you have the railing, which is also brown. And so because it's brown on brown, I think that some of the detail and some of the contrast will get missed. And if they can draw in more color, like with leaves, I know they have the possibility, they mentioned that. But if maybe we can dive a little bit deeper into like that, if that affects the budget in any way, it's good to know that. Because I think adding in some color will help it pop. And whether that's, gold or still other neutral tones, different tones will help the eye pick up more of those details.
Yeah, you're talking about morning glory, and it's like, but I wasn't about them to respond to that.
yeah.
Yes. I mean, we want to galvanize these because you're by the coast and, we want them to be.
Yeah, so
have
one
a
of
good
the,
long life, so.
one of the things is like, the if in like a public piece like this, instead of just like putting a clear finish over some kind of darker metal, we would galvanize it with zinc, and that they dip it in hot metal, and it really puts a very protective coating on there. And so the metal work would be like actually a lot lighter than this when it started. So in some respects, we'd be putting color on to kind of tone down certain spots so it wasn't. And I mean, as another address of color, we often like to add highlights of color
Yeah.
without going too like crazy.
Yeah.
You know, I think we're pretty good at like kind of mixing in some metallic kind of paints, some coppery kind of highlights. You know, maybe a little green here and there, but not really like a painted surface, not, you know.
Right, so it doesn't look like we're just coloring the leaves green and the trunks brown, and we just kind of, I don't
Do a
know,
little highlights.
accent things where they need it. We
You
like
play with the nature of the metal. the
Yeah.
Nature
Yeah.
of the,
we like materials that kind of age
Material.
nicely, but we understand we can't be making, you know, brass handrails or bronze handrails and things. So we work really well with what we have and in budget, and I don't think that would add anything. That was in kind of included into our
Yeah.
estimates of what we're working with.
Great.
Yeah, of course.
Great.
So we'll talk about all those details, I'm sure, at some point. Yeah, it seems like plenty of information to go through with the different ideas. Now, when we talked about that entrance to that other homeowner, would they just have a handrail going up to their house, or would it just be the steps? I mean, is that are you providing them a handrail?
I don't think there's a handrail over there. I think it's pretty close to grade, so it's just the steps
Okay.
as planned.
All right. So, you know, the entrance, I don't think on that side that there is on the Alvarado Street on the north entrance, I don't think there's any guardrails down there. They're just the handrails, the type 1 at that point. So we might not do a whole lot of natural kind of embellishment on that entrance besides the light feature.
Yeah, and the light, I mean, I think after talking about today, I think the light feature is going to, I think it would be really good to have it as like, you know, I mean, we talked about this idea of the entrance to the Paris Metro, you know, as this really beautiful artistic thing that Hector Goumand did. And it's like, we're not necessarily doing that. It's just, you know, it's like, oh, you're entering this like cool place and you're going up the staircase, you're down the staircase.
Sense of place.
Yeah.
I think
Sense
the
of
other
place,
thing,
exactly.
the other thing that's important is that it's really easy to mistake that this is just someone's private stairs because of
Yes.
how close they are to the house and how like the residents use that set of stairs to get to their house. And so I think that with the investment in this space, we want it to be clear that the public can access this. And so to have that, you know, creating that sense of space and also having like some signage or whatever helps signify to the public that this is a place that they're welcome to, you know, stairs they're welcome to use.
Yeah, plus we'll be really promoting this as a project that everybody's gonna be proud of. Here is some usable public art, and I think we'll probably really play that up
Okay.
But
when it's finished.
I think a sign, you know,
That
Yes.
sign idea is wonderful.
It's wonderful.
is a great idea.
Yeah, we'd love to do that, and we'll talk about those options too. Let's see. So going up from Alvarado, there are the 2 handrails on either side. And then we have, it looks like kind of a pretty long stretch of just handrails going up for quite a while. So Scott, we talked with Noreen, I believe, a little bit about adding, since maybe, I think at this point, the county would like us to take on doing the handrails also. I'm pretty sure that's understood.
We will like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we've got these, no offense to Public Works, but standard handrails that are not gonna match our art.
Yeah,
So the continuity of it,
right.
was what we talked about. And just while we're saying that, Camille missed the last meeting, but at the meeting before last, she was talking about something that I had stuck in my head, that little people are gonna be using these stairs. And so she was talking about some horizontal things within the railing. So
Nice.
little people have got something to grab hold of, and that just makes so much sense to me.
Smooth, real like smooth stuff. Yeah, we had in our home, I was thinking about talking about this with you, which is great. You brought that up. I forgot. We put on our stair rail a lower one just for the kids to learn how to get up the stairs with by themselves. So I really like that idea. We'll have to think about what we could use to.
And, you know, it doesn't have to be anything straight. I mean, keeping
Just-
in this kind of
Yeah.
context of,
Yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
as long as
Oh,
it's
right.
smooth and no sharp edges.
yeah. Why don't you show her that one then? We have a sample that stuff that we love making, and while we don't really think we need to do the entire thing out of it, I mean, we could, but
This was
Oh, yeah,
Looks like a root.
it
Yeah.
does.
That's
That's
like a
perfect.
root.
Oh, that's great.
what we might do is make some sections that are more close like this and then stretch out others so that it's not
Yes,
entirely forged.
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
same.
That's
Wow.
cool.
So you
Very
get
nice.
some
Very
texture.
tactile.
yeah, this
Exciting.
is sort of an
Yeah,
invention that
yeah.
you can't really buy this. So we kind of invented this as a way to just make it kind of interesting to grab onto. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Looks like
I
a
would
unicorn horn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yes, narwhal tusk, you know.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Well,
Because
it
the
is,
pathway looks like it's very foresty, kind of enchanted kind of feeling.
It is.
So
That's
Yeah.
the vibe.
keeping things
Well-
as smooth as, smooth. So, I mean, sometimes we have sharper edges when they're up higher, but when we're interacting with people, we don't want to ever have any,
Right.
especially with the county, you don't want to have anything that they can get cut on or anything. So we're really mindful of those
Well, that
concepts.
staircase is going to be a main thoroughfare for a bunch of kids who live
Kids
in
go to
Upper
school.
Brisbane.
Yeah, that's.
And
just
they've
what I was
had to
gonna say.
walk down San Benito, which is at the top. And it's a very dangerous place for the children to be walking, so we are going to be encouraging the use of the staircase for little kids.
Okay.
Okay.
I have a question. Because the stairs are going to be mosaic stairs, how do you feel about being provided maybe a rendering or some kind of concept of what the coloring and the theme, because I assume there are also gonna be kind of some plants as well, being provided that and then helping that to inform maybe what would be complementary with.
Yeah,
Sure.
we're really
idea.
always been open to collaboration, and we think that's,
Yeah,
we want the product to end result to be cohesive.
Cohesive,
of course,
yeah.
so.
Yeah, have completely agree that it's like, we're not going to say that it doesn't conform to our design. We can work together to make it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
No, that's a really good point. Really good point.
yeah, I mean, we want the end product to be very cohesive. So,
Yeah.
You want the end product to be something you're proud of.
yeah.
Good together.
So do we have a design from the Mosaic people, or no, not yet.
Not yet.
Not till later. Okay, so further along in the process, I think that's a good way to collaborate.
So maybe
And
we
then-
want to talk about other lighting.
Move up to the other lighting.
Yeah.
The ball, what we call it,
Because I think that as I'm going up, toward the top, we're going up the steps now. We
Yeah.
haven't even hit any of the, type 2 railings yet, so it's natural to talk about the lighting that you come across next. That you're gonna see a light on the right or the left. You're gonna see a light on the left
1, 2,
and then on the right.
yeah.
So, those lights, we just were discussing what we could do with those and using the plant forms. There's, the concept of making the whole thing be a plant and not using any kind of architecture there, but we could also visit that idea too.
Right. It's sort of a short version of, not very, kind of low to the ground, but Madeline came up with the thought of you know, maybe the bollard lights have some kind of like rock that
Like a natural
a
stone.
natural stone that kind of gets put there and the light kind of comes up from behind it.
Because
And
some of these plants that are native in the area, specifically the what plants am I thinking of? The
lupin,
poppies are things that are a little lower to the ground. So,
Mm.
I mean, that's one thing we were thinking about, that some of them might need to have a little bit of a riser to help
Yeah.
them kind of stand out.
and I think, you know, that whatever they are, we'll have to kind of like work through some ideas, but you know, something that's like the light may have the same similar element that kind of comes up and has a short little gooseneck with a little flower that's actual light, and then maybe there's some other elements, but as long as they're not.
And then we can have on the lights some insect activity. So we can have a butterfly with that.
That's the surprise art.
Our
It would-
surprise art, we've been talking about surprise art
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
So that way it in itself creates the top so that the light doesn't go up. It can just be forced down that way. So
Yeah.
You
it
know
directs
what?
the light.
The California poppies are such a favorite flower in our town, because in the springtime, they just bloom everywhere. And everybody
Right.
seems to love them. Just a thought I'd throw in
Do you
there.
do,
Yeah, You're looking through the lights, the plants that seem to be the best, largest plant that we could, the flower that we could use artistically, and
As
the poppy, the wild rose, the fuchsia, the Douglas iris, and
The iris.
nightshade was another one, but I don't know. I mean, yarrow was kind of a neat one too, because it has kind of a
you could
round-
also have different flowers. I mean, it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be the same throughout. It could be
Agree.
different.
Yeah, and that's a good.
Do them all.
What was the what was the one?
So again, it's like if, just asking in terms of budget, if we were to do different flowers on each one of the smaller lights.
Yeah, these are
That-
like, definitely,
Like,
these are lights that, I mean, that amount we quoted you, we weren't imagining making the same one. We were imagining making different lights for you.
Wonderful.
Great.
We like making different things anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, and then there's, you know, as far as the guardrail or the type 2 that's gonna be higher, and that's kind of the larger canvas that's really gonna have some of the art on it. You know, we have kind of a, we gave you kind of a budget square footage price for what that kind of runs for us to like, you know, build and kind of, install color. And I guess, you know, one of the things we want to know is like, if we take on the whole railing project, is there part of this budget, is there like a budget for art, and is there a budget for some of the construction of the metal work for the railing itself? You know, it's like, you know, and I guess we could get into that later about the nitty gritty of like
Right.
how much, you know, the railing.
Like sometimes we don't know if there's a different fund for a railing as opposed to an art piece. So just
I think
something.
it's an excellent question. It's my question too, as to what part does the city and the public works budget kind of work hand in hand with what you need that they're not doing that will help support the artistic endeavor? I think it's a great, very good question.
That was
last
brought up,
meeting.
that was brought up in the last
Do
meeting.
you wanna take that?
And you wanna take that?
So there's two ways to understand what the increment is to do something artistic with the railing versus the pipe style railing. And we have an engineer's estimate to build and install that. I don't have it in front of me. So we can compare that to what your costs are, or we could actually make the contractor bid it 2 ways, but they wouldn't actually be constructing what they've designed, so it would be the rest of it, I guess.
So I think like what I understood from our conversation last time is the city has a grant that is gonna fund the stairway. And so normally how we do it is just the standard run of the mill railing. So the city would ask the contractor to bid what that costs. And let's say for example, let's say it's $10,000. So ordinarily, that's how much the city would spend. And so we would take that money from the grant and apply it to the railing. And then the public art fund would add a supplement. So let's say, your budget to do what we would like is 50,000, then the public art fund would fill in the remaining 3,000, so that we would have the correct budget to have the art that we want to see there. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
So I think we
Yes.
would just give you.
Will
one
you let
over-
us know how, what you'd like to see from us for the additional handrail?
Yeah, and I mean, it would help.
What would be the best way to proceed for us to let you know? Would it be another cost proposal from us? Or,
Yes.
Or
Okay.
would it be,
Which
here's
one?
my question, is it a cost
Um,
proposal from them, or is it if they do all the handrails excluding, but knowing the handrails are there, what you have budgeted for the handrails goes to them, and then they give us a budget of how having that budget, the art is implemented and needs to supplant, make it an artistic handrail. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I
thank you.
mean-
I'm glad you're getting what I'm saying.
And are you
Yeah,
talking about
because-
additional hand railing? I guess that's what.
And what's the
Yeah,
additional
Yeah.
No.
handrail?
Was that, are we talking now about like, cause we added in this handrail that's lower down for the kids?
Well, that's one thing, and it's
That's
also the idea of like the type 1 handrail. We kind of sent off some numbers that dealt with the artistic canvases of the guardrail at the top and in the middle, and it's the landings where you needed it. And we sent off some ideas about prices for some lighting, which, we're gonna do an architectural piece, but it's sort of like, I think it's sort of within the budget of, we'll try to work within like creating this archway sort of as one big light. We'll kind of like make
Right,
that.
so we can also move some things around also.
Yeah.
On our end to make the thing work out budget wise for
Yeah.
everyone. Let's see, what was, I know I asked this in the RFP questions and I believe you answered me and I didn't read it properly. So I should probably revisit what you wrote to me, Noreen, when you answered my question, because I think it was that same concept, like, if we were to bid the entire thing,
Okay.
I don't know that it would have fallen within $80,000 range. I'm not sure if it would have, based on how we create our.
We're thinking
I think
artistic
so.
design on top of a railing that the city would put there versus actually doing the entire railing, is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah, we want to use the city's funding. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, I think the
Yes.
thing is if they're going to design.
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
funded.
yeah, I mean.
Maybe what we could do is if each of us kind of write up what we think and then we can kind of go through it that way, because I don't want to get stuck on like the financial stuff too much, because we're very much wanting to proceed, and we know that there will be funds that
Right.
will, I believe that
And we-
this whole.
Okay, hang on for a second, because I think
Okay.
we're getting a little bit too down into and I wanna, Noreen.
And
Yeah.
Karen had something
Wanted
to
to
say
step
too.
in, and then Karen had something to say
Maybe you
too.
should go first.
Go ahead.
You go first.
Well, I haven't seen their proposal in detail, but
Yeah.
just want to clarify that at the top, it's a prefabricated steel section because it's above grade, so it includes basic
Yeah, but-
handrail in it. I don't,
Yes.
we
Yes.
can remove that. And then the handrail is only on one side, so there's type 2 where the drop off is bigger, where the rails need to be closer together or whatever is physically there. And then the type 1 is when it's closer to grade, and those supports are more just really to support the place to put your hands. But it's
Yeah.
only
And
on one
those-
side, so I just wanna make
Okay.
sure you guys knew that.
That's good to know. I think we were assuming that the single handrail was going up on both sides the whole way, but
Okay,
okay,
all right.
it's good to
So
know.
it looks like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so if I could just interject regarding the budget piece. So you guys proposed a variety of different things that fell within the $80,000 umbrella. Some of which the committee decided not to move forward with, including the sculpture and a bench.
Yeah.
But they've made the decision that they would like for you to also take on the railing. In place of what was originally going to be constructed. So
Yeah, we don't wanna
we would
prefab.
need an additional proposal kind of for this refined scope of work that we're gonna be having you do. So you can kind of encapsulate all of the, you know, the two lighting fixtures at the top and the bottom of the staircase. In addition to, the
small ones.
substitutes for the bollard lighting throughout, in addition to the railing, handrails, kind of panels that you had anticipated. So I think that's what we're trying to capture within a proposal.
That
Okay.
sounds good. We
All
can
right.
do that.
I mean, if I'm out of line on this one, but as far as like the budget goes and what portion is gonna be coming from.
We'll figure that
The
out.
grant
Yeah.
stuff, that's not your, something that
Worry.
you need
It's
to
not
be
your worry.
concerned about, that's on our end, that we, you know,
Yeah.
like
Right.
you give us the proposal,
Yeah.
you give us the budget, and then we'll figure out
How we slice it
on,
up.
yeah, how we slice it up between the Public Arts Fund and Public Works.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
that sounds good.
I
So,
wanna
yeah.
add something else too. If you, maybe you should give them my contact information. If you have more specific questions about, you
Yeah,
know,
the right-
where that prefabricated stops, what the distances are. I don't know if you got the full set of plans, so.
Do we
can-
need to
We
have
did give them a full set
prefabricated?
of Plans. I think
Yeah.
you received a
have
full
to?
set of plans, so it should show you where the railings
Throughout,
are
or
and
just
type
Just
2
the
and the type
top.
1 is.
Okay.
Yes, we do have that. I was, yeah, I think
Yeah,
we read them pretty much properly. I think there maybe were a couple spots where we thought maybe there were double.
Yeah, now that
yeah.
we blew the plan up pretty well and we were focused on
Okay.
some of the bollard lighting, and now that I'm looking at it, I see the type 1 handrail only on one side in some of the spots, so that kind of like relieves some of the, you know, the extra expense that we were imagining
Mhm.
on some of that, so
Yeah, apologize. We just thought it was on both sides for some reason.
for all of it,
We
but
didn't know.
it makes sense now that I'm looking a little closer.
All good, all good.
All good.
So yeah, maybe
And,
when,
Oh, I
Yeah,
see. Yeah,
no,
east side only. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, so between Karen and I, you know, if you have additional questions that come up while you're refining the scope, we're happy to respond to them.
so if we have to use prefab stuff as part of it, then they can just enhance it so that it doesn't look
Do you
prefab.
guys want that?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, wait,
What?
wait.
I don't want prefab at all, but if we have to use it,
Okay, if
No.
where is this
The
prefab piece
top,
gonna
at
be?
the top.
Okay, so at the top,
Okay.
there's a big drop off. And I'm assuming for safety, it's a
Metal grate.
Steel, yeah.
a state requirement that we have this prefab piece, which is gonna be ugly. So that's where we may need
can we do that?
something to
Can we enhance it?
Yeah,
enhance it or disguise it or hide it or whatever we
Yeah.
need to do.
yeah, that might
Would
be
it
the best
feel like it's part
application
of
for
it.
you were gonna put it on to what's there, that might work
Yeah.
better there.
More of a panel
Yeah,
Yeah.
on one side.
Cause
or
it's
each side.
probably more of an ADU kind of look to it, which is not gonna work with our art, so.
ADA.
ADA.
I was like,
ATU.
huh, where's she going?
We have made lots of ADA
Yeah.
railings, and this 1.25 inch counts, even though it's a little skinnier, because the code actually reads that the circumference is also part of it. If it's a little narrower than 1.25 inches, then they can measure, the ADA inspector can measure around it, and if it's some 3.25 inches or something, then it applies. And we've gone through this before, so there's I don't know what prefab thing, but our idea was to like everything would be made by us.
That's
Yes.
what I was hoping for.
That's
too.
where I'm going.
There's no
Yay!
horizontal, there's no vertical pickets that we're decorating.
Right.
It's-
Yeah, I don't.
No,
all the
That's-
panels are like, they're like canvases that we're gonna build and make sure they have 4-inch minimum and that they're all smooth, playground safe, you know, no ticks of metal, nice and smooth.
Like
Thank
this when
you.
we get like the like a rendering from you, you can coordinate with Noreen and Karen and figure out all of those things and then
Yeah.
maybe make a rendering and then at some point
Yeah.
it'll come back to us
I
later.
guess as as an artist, you kind of need the template, right? You just need
Yeah.
the template that you're gonna be working on top of.
Mhm.
And then you'll give us a price and we'll go from there. I think that'll be, don't worry about it. I think it'll be great. I trust you guys to do like what, we're hiring you for your vision and I trust you
Yeah,
with your
yeah.
guys' vision as to
Interesting
what. this is gonna
crossover of like, the safety element and the art element kind of blending, and I know it's like, we just do it. And we know the code well enough, but sometimes there are things we need some help with too, and I'm happy that you would be able to work with us. But we feel very confident that we would be able to make metal work that satisfies the ADA also.
I mean, at our local elementary school, when we first dropped our kids off there, we were shocked by like, on the playground equipment, oftentimes there was like a little thing that was not perfectly done. And I was like, this is playground equipment. This should be completely smooth. There shouldn't be a little welding ball in the center. We're
Yeah,
very conscious of that. So
well,
Yeah,
that's great.
So what you would want from us is that additional proposal, and we'll fine tooth comb these plans a little better, and we'll, I see east side only, we'll make sure we measure properly so that we know exactly. what
yeah,
we're-
and I like the idea of like a middle rail, because it's like often in like industrial settings, they'll put a middle rail in, and maybe we just make that a wavy line that's kind of like keeps people from kind of tumbling off, little ones from tumbling off. So
And give them
You
something
know.
to grab.
and
Perfect.
how it's actually going to get like installed in the actual physical, but at least we'll work up some numbers and figure out how much work it'll take and to do that,
Great.
because I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I do have a question. How will you add your handrail to the concrete steps? Do you want to be doing it in tandem, or you would come in and drill that concrete after it's cured and attach, or you need something done in the design? That's what I need to know for this
Right.
other construction. part.
A lot of times in like public areas, they'll put in a hole and the railing will fit in and be mortared in. And I'm not sure if that's the best way, or because then the measurements we have to coordinate measurements really precisely. I mean, there might be an opportunity to attach to the side, which kind of frees us up a little bit with measurements and letting like
Oh,
the concrete, happen without like a lot of coordination on that part. Especially with the type 2 and type 1 handrails, they're going to be 1.5 inches apart so that the guardrail is a little farther out. So, I mean, that's kind of in our court to figure out what that is, but I think I think we'll just have to think about that a little bit more. What's your proposed like timeline for getting the concrete like in and started?
we're a ways away. We're gonna put it out to bid in February and construct in April. But we have to complete that design and know if we need to pre-drill holes. That's what I need to know as
Yes.
early as possible.
Right.
Okay.
And it could be a thing where we decide that we do want to drill holes ourselves, and all we have to do is make sure there's no rebar where we're going
Right.
to drill the holes. And that might be the best thing, because if we have this galvanized, we want to do a limited number of field welds so that the longevity of the project stays. We're only like spraying just a few joints, or maybe we're using a mechanical joint, but the galvanizing is amazing material, and it's very corrosion resistant, but the least field welding, the better. So I'm sure we'll try to come up with a plan that, of course I prefer the holes to be there, but then the coordination, we don't have to be cutting things and trying to make things fit. So we'll try to come up with a design. I mean, maybe it's attached to the side, maybe we're drilling it, but we'll definitely give you an answer before we get started with that.
Well, but what does that mean in terms of date?
What, someone had mentioned this November 7th, and I can't remember what that was in reference
Yeah,
to.
tell us what you need for that date.
So that's the date that we will take the award of contract for the artist to city council for their approval. But Karen needs to know for going out to bid what that would entail in terms of your installation and what you would need in terms of foundation.
Yeah, so there's a consultant, finalizing the design and I need to give them what we need, then they'll incorporate it, then I've got to review it, and then
Right.
that takes time and it's unto itself.
Right.
Mhm.
And could that be after this, when you take this to, you need this before you take it to this November 7th thing? That's what you're
No,
saying?
No.
No, but soon after would be
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
Okay.
Date,
So
like November 20th or November
Yeah.
30th or
Yeah, I was thinking late November.
late November to know whether to drill
give us-
or.
Good. Time to research it a little bit more and figure out the best way.
I mean, I guess as far as a concrete budget, I mean, you could just assume, we could start with the idea that you're gonna have them place holes in it, and if we decide to drill our own holes, then it'll only make it cheaper, because we'll be doing the work. So, you know, if we decide to attach to the side, that'll be on us, you know? And like I said, the only concern would be like, that we would spec out where the holes were and we make sure there wasn't rebar in the way, so.
How close together, how big, where exactly you need them.
Right. I mean, probably kind of, the plan seems, the spacing of the supporting column seems fairly like typical of where the holes would be, you know?
Right,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
They're not, you know, they're not close to the edge of the step, so you're not breaking the step out. You know, they're kind of towards the middle of the step. So, and they're probably not close to they're within like, I don't know, 1.5 inches from the edge of the concrete, because you know, you want to get into the meat of the concrete. So,
Right.
I guess we could have another conversation with someone that's like, if it's you again, or someone that's like designing the plans, we could have a more technical meeting that doesn't have to involve people that want to talk about color and stuff, you know?
You put all the artists to sleep as soon as we went into this.
Right.
And you guys mentioned something that may need risers for the bollard lights or something. Was that something that Karen you need to know about, if they need to put some sort of risers or anything or?
Yeah, we haven't really talked about the lights very much.
Oh, we can talk more about that.
Well, you know, part of the thing with metalworking is like kind of working with kind of pre-existing things, that decisions people have already made. And it's nice to have some decisions beforehand because we could design around that. But there's also a lot of things we can do to modify whatever situation to make the light work. And I think maybe that bollard connection on those lights, maybe we would change it a little bit so that the actual mounting of the light is has like a pole box in the back. So whatever light we have, maybe our bollard light isn't just the electrical connections made and then the lights mounted to it, but our lights mounted to a box, but that's all behind. That's why we came up with the idea of like a boulder or a rock that kind of not only hides the connection, but sort of protects it as well. And so what we might need is those same 4 bolts that are in a pattern, but instead of a metal going in it, we epoxy a rock on that, and then our light kind of comes out of the top. I think that's what Madeline was thinking today. It was
Just a way to get the light fixture a little higher.
a little higher up and not make it just. And we had just done a gate in Yosemite, and we did use some granite pieces for part of the holdbacks for the gate, and it was really pretty to use another element.
Yeah,
you know, so
stone and steel. Nice
That
one.
would really work because we're on a granite mountain.
Well,
cool.
we also have a quarry. and
Yeah.
We have rocks.
Oh,
Okay.
wow,
Also
that would be really cool to get something from there. I mean, we have a lot of granite here too, but Yeah, maybe what we wanted to experiment a little bit with some of the things some of the stones we have and some flowers, and I know that the time is a concern to get this going by the 7th.
But we can certainly work up the price and a preliminary design that's like, kind of gives the impression of it. So, if the city council looks at it and they say, this looks like it's got too big of holes between there, we work out those details so it looks like it's, it meets all the requirements and it looks cool.
Yeah.
And then also there's another possibility. I don't know. They're pretty close to the actual walkway, and it looks like the stair rail on some of them is on the opposite side of the light. So you could kind of get closer to the light, it looks like to me, on some of these areas. Is this true? Like the handrails on the opposite side of the light, if you're walking, the handrails.
Yeah, the
like,
lights are
on the other side.
alternating, yeah.
Okay.
Some of, like where there's a dotted line, it looks like that's kind of where a light would be on some of them. Does that look like right to you?
Yeah, these are the lights.
Yeah.
So,
So just thinking about more interpretive information, just in case that would be an interest, that there could be some words that say what kind of insect that is or what kind of flower that is. There could be more opportunity for that kind of interpretation.
yeah, maybe it's a cutout of the name of the flower. So each light has, as you're walking up, there's like, it's sort of like a little scientific thing, it's like, oh, this is the loop, this is the California lupin, this is the poppy.
The engagement.
Adding an educational element.
Yeah, I was
I was
thinking
just
that
actually
too.
thinking
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I read that. I read all the things in your engagement survey just to see what your community wanted, because I don't know what our opportunities are for that buy-in from the community, because we're California artists, but we're not necessarily local to Brisbane, and I would want to
Don't
make
worry, the mosaicist is San Francisco.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
I think someone mentioned they might know them. What's their name?
Oh, the Angelina Duckett, I think it is.
Okay. Oh, okay. I don't know. Maybe that was it. I don't know. That sounds cool. Yeah. So, I mean, just thinking about that as a possibility to add in some what kind of butterfly that is. Because I mean, that's what saved the area from being completely overrun with buildings. You know, you all know this.
Yes, we're
Yeah.
very proud of that.
So, I mean, why not celebrate that? So.
Yeah.
And that's part of our art thing too. We're really naturalists and environmentalists, and we think that we want that to come across as our art message, as our bigger message, So
This could be all.
That
And then-
resonates with the culture here.
Yeah.
Well, we're really looking forward to your vision. I mean,
they would be a little
Yes.
larger than life. They would need to be in order for them to be visible, which I
I love larger than life.
Yeah.
Larger
Yeah.
than life.
I-
Large and like.
I just wanna make sure though that, because we haven't really talked about the panels, do we need to
Okay.
talk about
Yeah.
the different, I mean, I'm just wondering if there's anything that you need to know from us, or if we have any questions for you about the panels before we kind of start wrapping up.
Not even sure for.
I think,
Well,
I think we made it clear with the horizontal.
Okay.
For the kids, and now
Okay.
we've got
I
some
think we-
educational with the
Where
flowers.
some of the landings are, maybe.
Yeah,
Talking about
like,
the top,
I'm
of
talking
it,
about the
the light at the top.
Yeah.
So we don't need to,
Well,
I was just making sure.
Scott and Madeline, the panels were more specifically for like the top and the bottom and the landings, correct?
Yes.
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 okay, got it.
Where,
So we don't-
where it needs to be a guardrail, where it's more than,
More than a handrail.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
so somebody isn't.
Camille's got her hands up.
Yeah, and Camille,
I just would like to say one thing, I'm in a different time zone, so I'm a little later, and I need to leave. But I wanted to just point out how thankful I am and how wonderful it is to meet you guys as artists. I have, for myself, full confidence in what you're doing and your aesthetic value, the way that you can think of others, the way that you're willing to collaborate, your ideas. And I'm just kind of so excited to work alongside you, and I want to thank you. And I'm sorry that I have to leave this, but I'm, 2 hours ahead of you, and
Right.
I have other
Okay.
commitments for the evening.
All
So
right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Forward to meeting you
Thank
in
you.
person.
Bye, Camille.
Bye.
Yeah.
Okay,
Did you-
so.
You
the-
talk
the
about
panels-
the lighting at the top, or is it gonna be
We
similar to what
haven't
you said at the
really,
bottom?
I guess we haven't made our way up to the top. That would be an opportunity to maybe do a tree light there, unless we want to repeat the architecture
Yeah,
light
there's more
that
there.
overhang. Using the Buckeye or something, we could do a different kind of thing, 'cause it's a different portrait.
Wherever there's room, I say take it.
Yeah.
Like, I love exaggerated. I love larger than like, yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I
That's
think we'll
really
figure the
big.
budget out,
Is
you
there
know?
room for that?
No, this
Yeah.
is much larger, but something that's a little bit more
I would
robust
say
than
like,
the space that's. on.
really push the envelope, you know?
Yeah, so just so
creative.
you know, Madeline, that top area has basically, it's almost a three-way intersection.
Mm.
And it could really use some beautification.
Mhm.
And if you think that there's the street going off to the left, the street going off to the right, and then a street going upwards, all those people are coming to that place to go down that staircase. So,
Isn't there
maybe
also a fire hydrant?
there's a
right
fire
next
hydrant there that we cannot move, but we
Right.
can be distracted from the fire hydrant with something beautiful.
Yes.
for sure.
Yeah.
That sounds nice.
And we did look at, we kind of turned ourselves around on both ends on Google Earth and looked at both,
Yeah.
intersections and kind of checked it out and.
Do you want some more photographs
Or
of
even a
the
video?
entrances
Oh,
from
yeah, if you
the
could.
top
Sure.
and bottom?
Mhm.
Yeah, we
I
can do
think
that.
that would be helpful.
Yeah,
Don't
we
you?
could do that.
Want a video or do you want still photos?
Both,
Oh.
maybe.
Wow, a video would be great.
Okay.
We have
You
the
have a-
technology.
We
Yeah,
all have phones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure our phone numbers are in there. You can send us a video. We'd love that. Or
Yeah.
pictures.
We also have a drone,
Thank you so
so
much.
we can maybe do that.
Oh, that
Oh, but the
is
drone,
so
there, you would
cool.
never get through the trees to see it.
But then just
Oh.
kind of do.
Fly it low. Fly it low. Oh my God, that'd be cool.
Now, the picture on Google Earth has a tree right there that looks pretty well established right in the middle of the
Yeah.
pathway. Is that
Yeah.
one's gonna be taken out?
Branch.
Oh, just a branch? Okay,
Okay.
I think so.
all right.
Yeah.
We'll go take a different look at it now.
Yeah, that would be really great.
Yeah, and it's like, I guess, like you said, in the three-way at the top, the different approaches, it's like if it's, the more striking it is, the better this whole thing is gonna get pulled off is like,
Absolutely.
it's
Yeah,
a success,
absolutely.
So,
Yeah,
We're
We kinda
really
understand
excited about this.
Yeah.
Believe me, it took me 7 years to get the grant money just to put the steps in, so I am really excited.
oh, good.
This sounds really exciting and yeah, we're just available to have any conversations if anything comes up and answer any questions that you didn't get answered tonight. I think we're definitely available to talk.
Yeah,
Cool. I think we're just excited about your creativity and
Yeah.
like just take
Oh, it's
run
so
with
glad
it
you're here.
and I'm sure we'll love whatever you come up with. And I think it's like you have really a lot of freedom here to use your creativity and come up with, what you think will enhance the space. And I think all of us just really want the community, but especially kids, to walk these stairs and just be enchanted.
Mhm.
Yeah.
that's good.
We've made we made this interesting tree light for a college and it has these animals all over it and there's a one knot in the tree and it has an owl in it. It's so cute. Oh, cute
Yeah,
little
like
owl.
these are kids' childhoods,
And
like
Yeah.
they're
it's
walked to
also a
school.
very small neighborhood, so it'll get a lot of attention, which is great,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, over the years, we've used heat a lot to manipulate the metal and we have like these giant aircraft machines that can stretch metal.
Wow.
So some of the panels we can, it's not just forged rods, but we can put panels in and I think we really, when we did this giant tree for Merced College, we kind of use some of this different technology, and I think we'll be using some of that here that, so you're not going to get like a tube frame and
Yeah.
we'll jazz it up for you.
The thing that
No,
Scott's very,
no.
you're very good at, I was gonna mention, there are those thoughts of like, what happens if somebody climbs up in the tree? Those kind of engineering thoughts that we haven't really talked about. And I know we had to get some engineering done for a project we did, but they treated it kind of like it was I don't know who's the engineer. I think there's probably engineers in the room, definitely, but they treated it like two shapes that weighed a certain amount. And that, am I right about this, Scott?
Yeah.
So, I mean, how do you feel about engineering a sculpture? Is it something that's going to be important, or do you feel like, I mean, we always overbuild everything we do. So I don't know.
Well,
I
it's
want to
not-
bring it up.
I guess it sounds like at both entrances, we'll have to work out some of the details of like, but it sounds like the concrete of the staircase is dropping down on both sides, especially at the top.
Yeah, it's quite a drop off.
And, I guess the only concern is to make sure, I mean, earlier today when we started talking about something kind of like more like a massive, like a bigger thing, we just realized we want to make sure we can leave enough room for the fire hydrant. We know that's a concern,
We just try to make things not climbable.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
know once you get there. So like basically
Yeah.
don't put a little thing where there's a branch that somebody can sit on.
Yeah.
Unless
Right.
it's low down and you want a bench, but we don't think we want a bench there. So
No.
we would be mindful of just no ability to climb it really. It would just be kind of like, what would you do when you get there? There's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
You can't get up in
Right.
there. It's just kind of,
Right.
I don't know. It's just something I had to bring up because I don't know that we discussed it or not. And if that would be a need for engineering.
Well, safety is paramount, I would
Yeah.
say. Also to preserve the integrity of the piece, because people do things.
People do things.
I think the
Yeah.
question is, you've got to pay for someone to review, and calculate forces. Do we think people are gonna climb these elements? Kids,
Mhm.
whoever.
Not really.
Well, I think it depends
Not
on the
more than
design,
anything else.
right? Like some designs lend themselves.
If you make it look like a
To
ladder, they're gonna
recline.
climb it.
Right.
If we
Yeah.
don't make it look like a ladder,
We
we've
put
got
signage,
vertical.
And we
pieces.
do have engineer that we can run ideas by. And
Okay.
whether or not you need engineering on it, you can let
Well, I
us
think
know,
this,
but
I think this architectural piece will, whatever plant form is on it, it's like, this is really, once you kind of like, you can't really get around this,
Yeah.
it's kind of like,
Yeah.
That would be ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, would not be friendly.
Right.
So good things to discuss. And I want to just kind of let you know that we would be mindful of these things. But not necessarily want to spend a bunch of money to get every little teeny thing engineered, but
right.
knowing that
Maybe
we,
you have a not to exceed with a little bit of,
Mhm.
in case there is something that
Yeah.
for
Comes up,
engineering or
correct.
something.
okay.
Okay.
So a cost proposal with that in it would be a good idea? Or just leave it alone for now? Just stop talking about it.
I would just leave it and we can
Yeah.
explore
Cross
that.
reference
Yeah,
later.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I certainly don't think we're gonna, the price of metal is not really like that expensive to go heavier duty on certain things. So we have a tendency to kind of overdo it just because, steel is only 80 cents a pound. So let's make it substantial and
Yeah.
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 Good idea. We do have a lot of wind.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
All
Well,
right.
I definitely think the galvanizing is an important part of this this process because it's going to make it last long, and it can get
Yeah.
expensive too. It kind of doubles the price of the project. So we'll kind of run all the numbers and make sure we're on the same page about the cost of everything. So,
Okay, sounds good.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much
so
for your time. You guys are
Yeah.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you guys. Work together.
Yeah, feel free to
Okay.
email me if you have questions.
Okay, thank
Sounds
you.
good.
Okay.
All right, have a
Thank
good
you.
evening. All right,
You
bye.
too.
Thanks a lot. That's exciting.
Oh, yeah, that, they're dreamy. I
I'm
love it.
really, really happy that everyone like made the time on such short notice to talk with them. I think it
Yeah.
helps illuminate
Yeah.
for all of us, even though, we didn't get too in the weeds about pricing, but some of that stuff has worked out, but I feel even better,
Yeah.
if that's even
No,
possible.
no.
But
Yeah.
I think just like maybe whatever they budget, we can just
We'll put a
cushion it.
Contingency in there.
We can cushion it for the council to say,
Yeah.
like, in case we need to, we don't have to go back,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also don't, what I don't wanna do, which is kind of what I feel like we did, and I wasn't part of it, the last mural thing, was not art direct these people, but let them put
Yeah.
forward their vision, cause that's what they do, and then just
Yeah.
react. But don't get nitpicky about, I just don't think that's appropriate.
Well, I love everything I've
Yeah,
seen.
so do I.
Well, I think the problem, to be honest, with that one was that it was nobody's first choice.
Right.
Yeah, so you
That
guys
really
were
was-
trying to make it
was.
something it wasn't.
We were trying to
Yeah.
make it fit, and I think it just was not the right artist.
Yeah.
And so, and I think
Yeah.
that that's why that kept happening, is because it just never, there was never this.
No,
feeling.
Yeah.
nobody loved it.
Excited about.
Nobody
about
loved
the artist.
it.
If you like
No.
what they're doing, you're comfortable just handing it off. and saying,
I
yeah.
feel great about being like,
Yeah.
just run with it, I'll love whatever.
Exactly, cause they're saying all the right stuff,
Oh,
all the
and
plans,
They seem to
they've done their
exactly
like
homework,
to do.
yeah. so.
Exactly,
Want to do
so.
the educational elements.
Yeah,
that's
Yeah.
but I
nice.
mean,
the
how
signage.
did the butterflies for the library go though? Cause that seemed to have gone pretty well.
I think
Fine.
so.
Yeah.
Well, it
I
depends who
mean,
you
it
ask.
depends on who you ask.
Well, most people like it. I think there was just a
That's
couple that
fair.
did not.
Depends
So,
on
I
who
mean,
you
that
I
is,
mean, that's public art, but I'm just saying
Yeah.
in terms of the process on the committee.
Well, the
that
process
moving
was
forward.
different because we didn't have a fully fledged committee at
Yeah.
that point.
Mhm.
So we were much less involved, it was more staff managed. But whatever, I mean, that is what it is. I think this is the first time though that we're really, hopefully, gonna
functional,
fully go through.
a functional
We've also
committee.
got the stuff coming from NINDOT that's kind
Yes.
of like,
It was.
we
helpful
worked
to
through
have
like
guys
what,
on.
Yeah.
what are the things that we want? We
We're in a
want,
different
we
place.
want it to be
We're in a
fun, we
different-
want it to be.
Yeah, we have more of a
Effective,
foundation,
yeah.
we have
And that was
more
input-
feedback from
and
the
that was
community.
Do we
Come-
need to
yeah.
keep Karen sitting here?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Hi, Karen.
That was.
Yeah.
input
So
from
we
the
don't need to
community.
do this for the mosaic on the face of the steps because they're gonna do that after.
Yes,
Yes.
They don't need to know any
No.
particular about,
Correct,
other
You're
than
good.
how many steps and.
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
and then probably like the grade, right, so that they know. They can see
Well, that'll be
the
out.
incline, they'll know the incline, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you,
Great.
Karen.
Thank you,
Alright.
Karen.
Thank you, Karen.
I do think that they need to kind of coordinate a bit. They
Yeah,
need to
I'm
know
glad
what
I said
he's
that,
doing, yeah.
because
It's
it'll be
important.
Yeah.
better.
Well, if
The things
Duckett
that
knows
we're-
what they're doing,
And you
then
don't want,
she can,
You can also.
Yeah.
she's not gonna come in with bright yellow geometrics when.
yeah, you
Yeah,
don't,
but
you
I
don't
just
want,
said-
you
Yeah,
don't want them
I
to be
get the
siloed.
feeling that they're gonna integrate pretty,
Yeah,
pretty well,
pretty well.
because her design already
This
was
is similar.
working with,
Yeah.
yeah, very similar and having that same kind of
the
wonderland
plans that the
feel.
But I think the
Yeah.
palette
So it's
kind
like,
of,
yeah.
the palette needs to jibe.
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know?
Mm-hmm.
No, I'll
But
agree.
that, I trust them to.
I do,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyways, gang.
Okay,
Can I-
well,
can
I
Do we
don't,
need,
Oh, do we
yeah,
need to do
public
anything?
comment?
there's no public comment
Okay.
received, nobody is online. And, we don't have anything except for the next meeting. I don't know if you wanna do one in November. If we have something going in November, that would be, that would be.
NINDOT should have the draft of the master plan in November, I'm not sure exactly
That's
when.
fabulous.
I can confirm.
Okay, so our third Monday would be the 18th.
I think it would be good to like have a meeting with the mosaicist, so that we can just start the
Agreed.
conversation, and then she can, because she may need to have conversations with McGrath. Because McGrath's gonna they need to do something much faster than she does. And so we're gonna need to have a conversation with her and get a feeling for what the theme might be of the piece. She submitted something, but it'd be good to have this kind of conversation with her. And that way, those two can,
Well, she can start
Talk.
thinking too.
yeah,
about it.
Are you good?
Yeah, I'm gonna be out of town on the 18th.
I'll be here.
Well, let me reach out to NINDOT and see if
I
that,
mean, I can do
They-
remote, but.
Yeah, good to remote.
yeah, do.
Are you gonna be in the same time zone?
Yes, Stu and I are going to Paso Robles for a few days.
Nice.
However, yeah.
Nice.
We like
Did
it.
you
today
just
your
change your glasses?
anniversary?
You did, I'm like.
Yeah, no, see, because these are distant, so now I can actually see everybody.
Oh, we don't have a date, so we're gonna TBD on dates.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
TBD on
Thank you.
I,
Cut off.
yeah,